It always takes a few days to digest the Fed, for me as well, right? I mean, yesterday we got the news and it was like, well, what do they know? Do they know something that we don't know? And it was more of a worry point. And then we get to digest it and we say, okay, wait a minute. Global growth is slowing. It has been for over a year. Our growth is slowing. It has been for the last several quarters. And okay, maybe they should take a wait and see and be data dependent, especially because inflation is nowhere to be found. The PCE, they even lowered their PCE targets. So I think that's a good thing. We all kind of took a sigh of relief when we kind of digest it. And then to Mike's point, guess what? Lower yields is actually very good for risk assets. And so you are absolutely seeing a multiple
But at what point
expansion.
does it become too worrisome about a recession or deflation? Because when you get super low and then you start getting the yield curve inverting, then it raises some other questions.
Right. No, an inverted yield curve is not a good sign, but you typically do have 12 to 18 months after the initial inversion for when you actually see a recession. I think we're far from a recession at this point, but we are slowing, Sarah. We've talked about it, right? I mean, we're not going back to the 4% quarter that we saw in the second quarter of last year, but 2%. So 2% is actually quite good with low interest rates. And that's good enough for earnings, and I think the first quarter earnings are going to be the trough for the year, and we're going to see improvement as we go through the year.
Mike mentioned the chip stocks, and Micron surged nearly 10% today after beating on earnings estimates yesterday, gave the broader chip stock sector a boost as the company's predicting a recovery in the memory chip market. VanEck Semiconductor ETF had its best day since January. Micron there up 9%, the broader semiconductor ETF up 3.5%. Mike, good positive momentum. Is this sector specific? Is it economy specific? What's the take here?
It's obviously a combination of all those things. It's risk appetite gauge. It's certainly the sector, and also Micron having been a laggard within the group on this big comeback. It was an area that was under more pressure in that area. It has sometimes traded as a China, trade story as well, which I don't think is really front burnered right now. I think all of it's coming together. Basically, the market wants to try to call the fact that the semiconductor cycle is back on track. I couldn't make a judgment on that, but that's the way the stocks are.
I mean,